G'day, I'm Dave Cummins from Future Property Group, and welcome to the Future of Sustainable Development, the podcast where we explore the ideas shaping tomorrow's built environment. Today, we're exploring the importance of BioSolar roofs. What are they? Why are they important? And how can we embrace them? At its heart, a BioSolar roof is simple. It is a marriage of two powerful green technologies, solar panels and green roofs. Instead of choosing between generating clean energy and creating living ecosystems on our rooftops, BioSolar roofs combine them both. Vegetation is planted beneath and around solar panels, creating a cooler microclimate that actually boosts solar performance while providing all the ecological and social benefits of a living roof. It's a kind of elegant solution that makes you wonder, why haven't we been doing this all along? The concept of BioSolar roofs grew out of the environmental design movement of the late 20th century. Traditional green roofs became popular in Germany in the 1970s as a way to manage stormwater and improve insulation. The concept of BioSolar roofs grew out of the environmental design movements of the late 20th century. Traditional green roofs became popular in Germany in the 1970s as a way to manage stormwater and improve insulation. Solar panels followed as part of the clean energy revolution. But in the early 2000s, researchers and designers began asking a bold question. What if these two weren't separate systems, but one integrated system? One institute in Germany later proved that solar panels installed above vegetation performed up to 20% more efficiently than panels on bare, heat-absorbing surfaces, thanks to the natural cooling effect of plants. That's when BioSolar roofs moved from theory into practice. So what are the benefits? Let's start with energy. Research in renewable energies have shown that PV cell efficiency drops as panels heat up. Green roofs cool the surrounding environment by evapotranspiration. Essentially, plants sweating under vapor into the air, reducing rooftop temperatures by up to 20 degrees Celsius. Energy and in Buildings Journal found that this reduces building cooling demands by up to 25%. When you add solar panels into that environment, they perform better. It's like putting solar panels into the world's most natural air conditioner. Then there's biodiversity. A study published in Urban Forestry and Urban Greenery demonstrated that green roofs support pollinators, insects, and even small birds in otherwise barren cityscapes. Add solar panels to the mix, and you've created a mini nature reserve above our heads. In Switzerland, BioSolar roofs have been shown to host rare species of orchids and butterflies, proving that rooftops can become critical ecological stepping stones. Water is another benefit. Research in the Journal of Hydrology confirmed that green roofs can absorb and retain up to 70% of rainfall, reducing flooding risk during storms. This means less pressure on our city's stormwater system and less polluted runoffs entering our rivers and our oceans. And the human benefits are undeniable. The Journal of Environmental Psychology found that employees working near green roofs reported reduced stress and higher well-being. Combine that with the energy saving of cleaner air from vegetation, and BioSolar roofs start looking less like optional extras and more like essential urban infrastructure. So what if the benefits are so compelling? Why don't we see BioSolar roofs everywhere? Part of it is perception. Developers worry about upfront costs. Yet Journal of Sustainable Real Estate showed that sustainable buildings rent for more, sell for more, and maintain high occupancy. Another barrier is inertia. The construction industry is one of the least innovative sectors, and many builders are still unfamiliar with the technology. And then there's the issue of silos. Solar engineers and green roof designers are often working in separate worlds, when BioSolar roofs require them to collaborate. Then there's resistance from industry and investors in the status quo. And then there's resistance from industry invested into the status quo. If BioSolar roofs reduce energy demands by cooling buildings naturally, that challenges business models built on selling more energy. And let's be honest, there's a cultural factor too. Shiny glass towers still dominate our imaginations of progress, while lush, living rooftops rarely make it to the cover of architectural magazines. but resistance is cracking. Let's look at examples. In Australia, Melbourne's Council Houses 2 was one of the first to integrate green roofs and renewable energy, setting a precedence for biosolar design. The University of Melbourne has trialled biosolar systems on campus, demonstrating improved energy efficiency and biodiversity outcomes. Overseas, London has embraced biosolar roofs as part of its planning strategy. The Labian Dance Centre's roof is one striking example, combining solar with wildflower meadows. In Germany, Berlin's Environmental Ministry building uses biosolar roofs to manage stormwater, generate power, and create habitat all at once. And in Basel, Switzerland, regulations requiring green roofs on new developments have encouraged a wave of biosolar experimentation. So how do we embrace more biosolar roofs? The first is to make them standard practice in design and building playbooks. Daylight-orientated buildings, passive ventilation, and living roofs should be the baseline, with biosolar integration as a natural upgrade. Second, we need measure. Post-occupancy evaluations must track not only energy generation, but also biodiversity, air quality, and wellbeing outcomes. When clients see the numbers, the case becomes undeniable. Third, finance needs to step up. Green loans and sustainability-linked investment can tie lower interest rates to measurable outcomes such as energy yield and biodiversity gain. Finally, culture must shift. We need to redefine progress, not as concrete and glass, but as buildings that power themselves and restore ecosystems simultaneously. What would happen if we built more biosolar roofs? We would see cities that are cooler in summer, reducing heat stress and cutting air conditioning costs. We would see stormwater systems less overwhelmed, rivers less polluted, and biodiversity corridors weaving through our skylines. We would see property values rise and tenants stay longer. We would see workplaces where employees feel healthier, schools where children learn better, and hospitals where patients recover faster. And on the global stage, we would see the built environment move from being responsible for nearly 40% of carbon emissions to being a critical driver of decarbonisation. The take-home message is this: biosolar roofs are not science fiction. They are here now, working and delivering extraordinary value. They make solar smarter, buildings cooler, cities greener, and communities healthier. They prove that we don't need to choose between technology and ecology. We can have both, and when we do, everyone wins. Because when we design with biosolar roofs, we don't just create sustainable buildings, we create regenerative futures. Futures where cities generate their own clean energy, restore nature, protect people from climate extremes, and give back more than they take. Thanks for tuning in to the future of sustainable development. Join us next time as we uncover fresh research, new innovations, and best practices for building smarter, greener, and more resilient buildings. Until then, let's continue to build places that heal the land and empower communities for tomorrow.